So on January 1st, 2023, the government implemented the prohibition of the prohibition on purchase of residential properties for non-Canadians, right?
Okay.
Where they said that for a period of 4 years. So originally they had it from January 1st, 2023 to December 31st, 2024, and then they moved it until January 1st, 2027, where
Okay.
they said that subject to certain exemptions, right? And this stuff is always case by case, and you have to look into the legislation, right? But they said subject to certain exemptions, people who wish to purchase residential property or vacant land zoned for residential use, they cannot purchase residentially unless they fall under certain exemptions, right? Exemptions being like they are temporary residents or they're on a work permit or if they're a refugee. So usually it's always best if you have somebody overseas calling and saying like, hey, I want to buy a property and I want to buy a residential property, best to check in with a lawyer and see if they are eligible or if they're not eligible. And if they're eligible, if they fall under certain exemptions. Because the follow-up question to that becomes, okay, even if let's say they have a work permit here, do they pay the non-resident speculation tax, right? And the answer is usually yes, in the amount of 25%. So
Okay.
usually stuff like that, I always tell like real estate agents as well, if you are not sure if they're eligible or not, just call your lawyer, because there's also restrictions such as the census metropolitan area, or the census, I think it's called the CA, where they say that if you buy a property outside of what's deemed the CMA or the CA, then you can buy it, right? So usually I would say like a real estate lawyer and an agent usually can work together to see if the client's eligible, if they are like overseas, just to determine if they can purchase property here or
Okay.
not.
Let's break it down to make it easy.
Okay, sure.
Very wealthy answer, like rich, let's say rich answer, right?
Oh, thank
Too
you.
much details.
Yeah.
But for the consumers out there, let's put it in. So, in principle, Canadian citizen, whether they are citizen in Canada living or living overseas, because for the tax purpose, there is something called Canadian non-resident, right?
Yes, exactly.
So here is both of them are eligible to buy, but tax is different question,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So Canadian citizen can buy whether they are residents
Yeah.
in Canada or overseas.
Yeah.
Right? We have a lot of diplomats, people living overseas, right?
Exactly.
The second category is PR, permanent
Exactly.
residencies,
Yes.
right? There is no restriction.
There's
on
no
that,
restriction. So
right?
if you have a citizenship here or a PR, there's no restriction. You can buy property.
When you come to the work permit, now we're getting into details. So
Yes.
work permit, there is open and closed work permit. Then we have a refugee status. Then we have a students.
Exactly.
I hear different news, like yes and no, as you said, is very specific because of exemptions.
Yeah.
So can you give us roughly work permit students? Like somebody told me there is a minimum time you have to be residing in Canada. Is that correct?
That is true.